Hi, good morning. My name is Richard Reyes. I'm a real estate broker here in West Covina, California, 18 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. This is the first time I moderate on a Zoom channel as I'm sharing with Shawn, Mike, and Angela. Hopefully they'll help us make this a smooth and easy process. So yeah, I've been a real estate broker. I started as a real estate appraiser 12 years ago. I've been in the business for just about that much time. Formulated a team September of last year. We are on pace to close just under 100 units this year at 55 million in volume. The goal next year is 244 units at 140 million in volume. So if we can say hello to Angela, Mike, and Shawn. Angela, if you can introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Yeah, hi, I'm Angela Walters, and I am in Wisconsin near the Milwaukee area. I have been selling real estate for almost 17 years. Prior to that, I was a computer techie person in my former life. I am in the process of building my team right now with XP. I've actually been with the company for 3 years now, and I've got a couple of agents working with me. We did, by myself, I did almost 40 transactions this year and hoping to double that. Actually do more than double next year.
Awesome. So 3 years with EXP, 40 units, and the goal is to.
Yeah, I'm actually shooting for 100 units next year. Nice.
Right on. Mike, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, how long in the business, and your projections for this 2021 year.
For sure. So kind of new to real estate. I owned a staffing company for 23 years that I sold in February of 2018. Had some tie out to do with that kind of took up a lot of my bandwidth the remainder of 2018. So jumped in full time into real estate 2019. Joined EXP in June of last year of 2020. This year I've got right now 3 agents on my team and a full-time operations director. We've got 3 more closings this year, so that'll put us at 53 for the year, a little over 33 million in volume. And next year, like Angela, it's 100 units and over 50. I'm negotiating a $13.8 million oceanfront house now, and if that gets done, whatever that, we just stack that on top of that 50. I don't include it. We just up the goal to 60 whatever. But so that's my story.
53 units, and you just started the business in 2019?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is great.
What's the secret sauce
people around me? What's that?
What's the secret sauce?
I don't try anything. I'm like Shawn. And I tell my people, get that word, I'm Yoda, man. Do or not do. There is no try. So and I tell people it's a lot better to be my client than my family sometimes. So that's been, this year has been kind of the shift away from being the rainmaker to kind of building into the team and handing more off so that I can be around and more present.
That's great.
Yeah.
Shawn, can you follow with thank you.
Sure. So Shawn, I'm from Calgary, Canada. 2.5 years in the business, did 44 deals my first year, 103 deals my second year. And we're training just about 200 this year with the team. Yeah, started my team a little while ago. I'm on the 5th version of it now. So we're constantly recreating what it looks like because it's hard. So we'll see how it goes. But I got myself up to 23 agents. Fired a bunch last week down to 17 and fired a bunch more Friday down to 9. So building back up now.
Wow. So in 2.5 years, we went from 44 to 103 and the goal is 200 deals this year. 2020.
We'll do 200 this year. Yeah.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't do any leases here either. So those are all transactions.
So where do you find, I guess going into these questions, where do you find your successes? Like, where's your sweet spot as far as leads, or is it past clients, sphere? Like, where are these transactions coming from?
Yeah. So what happened when I started in the business, I was dead broke and nobody would help me, which is really frustrating, but it was okay. EXP was super small. There was only like 100 agents around here, and we only had one mentor, and I didn't like them at all. So I said no mentor. And they tried to tell me that like I had to, and I'm like, well, then I quit. Like I'm going somewhere else, right? That's like a whole long story. And then, yeah, like I logged into EXP World, and the first thing someone told me was to go take a boat for a ride. I'm like, I don't want to go on no boat rides. Like, I want to learn how to sell houses. So I never logged in there, and I just started YouTube and stuff. And everything I saw on YouTube, I didn't like that either, but I understood the things I was supposed to do. And I'm like, let me just make it my way. And then I did. And so, yeah, I built my schedule around prospecting. And I understood that as a realtor, my job isn't buying and selling houses. My job is procuring new clients. And the benefit of that is buying and selling houses. So I always wanted the benefit. So I'd make sure I did a really good job at the job itself, which is prospecting. And yeah, so once you understand how to prospect all day and effectively and efficiently, I don't spend $1 on leads, like not one.
Wow.
And yeah, you just learn how to procure business and off you go.
Wow, that's awesome. Prospecting. That's the way to go. Old school.
Yeah, well, not so old school.
Well, not old school, but I say that because when I started the business in 08, 09, all I knew was Mike Ferry. Just listen to old script, the expires for sale by owners, canceled, withdrawn. That's all I knew. You know?
Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, no.
Now everybody for the low hanging fruit.
No, it's honestly what happens is, so you have to get your business started, right? So you have to go and do deals like knock doors, open houses, workers fear, all that stuff. But then social media is a social proof. And then once you understand social media properly, like when I started, I had 260 followers on Instagram. I got about 4,500 now. And I learned how to build my sphere organically in the communities where I wanted to work in with the exact people that I wanted to work with. And then I constantly send out signals to those people through my content, what I post, and then how I interact with those accounts. And when they're ready to buy or sell or refer, they just send me a DM. Like now, like I don't even go on listing presentations. I just go for coffee or a beer and I tell them what their house is worth and I put their house up. That's it.
That's great.
And what would you say, what contributed to your ICON success?
For me, it's more just relationships with clients and referrals. You know, honestly, when I got in the business, it just kind of happened just because of my experience in corporate America previously. So I didn't quite have a focus, a business plan. I just kind of did it, and I worked with whatever clients came my way. And so, you know, and then so shifting from that way of doing business to a more focused way of business that's in line with my target client, and you know, being more specific is the way that I'm focusing on now. And part of that is probably going to be more with the social media than what I've done in the past. But again, for me, it was referrals, word of mouth. My main source of business was based on that.
Nice. What about yourself, Mike? What would you say contribute to your success with to be ICON?
So probably early on, I did from selling my company. I didn't want to, you know, do as much sweat equity. I did more check equity, which was Zillow leads. We still have a good ROI on that. So we do get Zillow leads, which helps feed the buyer agents and gives them opportunities and at bats. Some pay-per-click and things like that. But really in looking at the 54 this year, you know, agent referrals is moving up the ranks, as is, you know, just sphere like and to Shawn's point, this listing I have no business having this listing, quite honestly. I coached this guy's kid in lacrosse years ago. He's been following me, kind of seeing, damn, Mike's working his ass off. And he's like, you know, transacting nice homes in the, you know, $1 to $3 million range. And it was that he's like, what do you think my house is worth? Do you like, would now be the time? I'm like, yeah, there's nothing new where you are. If you ever had a chance to cash out, now would be it. So leveraging deep, I've got an agent on my team, Kaylin, who, you know, I told her, I said, this could be your secret weapon. You're 28 years old. Everybody in your demographic is buying now. You should go all in on social. You're built for this. I said, go follow Marley Presswood, go follow these people, do what they do. Like, just do it. And she does. And she's got reels going viral. And like Shawn, she's got people DMing her 2-3 times a week. You know, sold a house to somebody in Pittsburgh, sight unseen, never met them. These people never even saw the house they're buying, but just trust. So, and I'm leaning more into that as well. So I think, you know, I think agents that are not putting out there, whether it's social proof, and I think even more important than proof, it's proof of competency now, it's storytelling. And how we were able to, because I bought and sold in this market. I'm out of my mind. But how, telling the story of how we did that, how the dominoes needed to fall, post-occupancy agreements, and just how to structure that. People are watching, and agents that are not using that, I think it's a huge detriment. I think they're invisible.
Yeah, tell a story for sure. So how do you, both Shawn and Mike, it sounds like your production, especially being fairly new in the business, and how do you, I guess I'll ask Shawn, like, how do you delegate, or what do you delegate in your business?
Like, as far as admin is concerned?
So from, say, taking a listing, or whether it be a buyer or a seller, whatever the case, like, what does that look like? Do you have like a transaction coordinator? Do you have like a listing specialist, or like, what do you have?
Yeah. So when I was saying that those are my deals, the 100 deals. So that doesn't include my team, right? What they did. So yeah, we have an admin from myself, and then the hire producers for the team. And she just does all the paperwork. So like, we get the deal, and then she does the listing paperwork or the buying paperwork, whatever it is. And then that's all that she does. And then basically everything else, we're in front of the customers for everything, right? And for me, like, I know a lot of teams, they only have buyer agents, and I'm really working on, kind of changing the industry around me. And I don't want, especially because the EXP model, right? But I don't want just buyer agents. I want like ninja realtors, where like they're incredible agents, everything. And I want them cycling out of the team incredibly skilled, incredibly confident, incredibly competent, so that they could be replaced by somebody, and I could just keep growing the downline, because ultimately we're working towards freedom, right? So I teach them how to do listings, I teach them how to do buyers, I teach them how to market stuff for free. Like, again, like I don't pay money for nothing. And yeah, like we were talking this morning about it, and we have this Facebook marketplace strategy that we use. And last year I double-ended 23 deals from Facebook Marketplace.
Wow.
And yeah, so 23 deals I double-ended. They were the easiest transactions ever, and didn't cost me $1, nothing, right? And then so I asked them, I go, when's the last time you guys posted a marketplace? And they go, oh, Friday, last week. I'm like, why aren't you posting every day, right? Like every single day you need to post, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started talking about it. And like, when I started in the business, we were in a declining market. So we were very, very, very much a buyer's market. And I was explaining them the difference between effort and results, right? And I'm big on door knocking. I love it. And what happened is that in 2019, when I started, I go, do you think door knocking was more effective or less effective? And they said it was more. I said, okay, why? I said, well, because there was way more way more sellers back then. Like, we used to have 3 years on market was like the average it took to sell a house. Can you imagine 3 years on market? I'm not talking 3 weeks, 3 months, 1 year, 3 years houses would take to sell when I started. And so if you're knocking on a door with a buyer, they're going to be super inclined to talk to you. But now that there's buyers everywhere and there's a shortage of sellers, we're back in a seller's market. When you're knocking on the door, people aren't as inclined to be like, oh yeah, like I tried to sell my house last year or whatever. So now you got to work a lot harder at door knocking. But it's the reverse when you're advertising for buyers, because people can't see nothing right now, right? Like you see a house and it's already been sold 10 times as it comes online. So the way that we're marketing stuff is our strategy. Now we're picking these people up out of nowhere, and they're on our own listings for the most part. So just like, life is very easy when you look at the macro situation of your market and the pieces that are moving, and you attack the pieces that are moving fastest with the best way to get at them, if that makes sense. Right? So you always have to be looking and learning, like, what's happening in my market right now? How do I get at these people the best way possible? And if you're doing the same thing you did last year, you're not going to grow. Do you know what I mean? Or even last week, like, you should be looking at this stuff all the time. Because that makes sense.
So how many do you have on your team right now?
9 as of today, 23 as of 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm not shy to move quick at all. So if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. Yeah.
So
And
Shawn,
yep.
I have a question. You said that you fired some people on Friday. So what is your criteria do you use to keep someone on your team, or to decide to let them go?
Yeah. So my biggest thing on everything I do is through education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is I looked at my business, and we're planning for next year. So we're running our budgets and everything. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, that is a big deficit. Like, this is no good. And then I sat back and I'm like, okay, why is there a deficit? Right. And then I started looking at the people, and I'm like, we're investing so much time and energy into these people, and they're not producing and whatever. So basically what I did is I changed the structure of the team in the split. And I said on Friday, I go, this is the new structure. This is the new split. Anybody who wants to stay can stay. Anybody that wants to leave can leave. And I knew the people were looking to have their hand held, and we're taking that away. So all of the people that were consuming all of my time and energy left on their own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I just made the environment uncomfortable for them, so they didn't want to be here anymore. But the people that wanted to be here, the ones that I call like a high D, or we categorize everybody into A, B, and C players. Like an A player is your superstar. You don't really have to do much about them. Like every once in a while, you give them a slap just to keep them in line, and then most of the time you just give them a tap on the bum to tell them they're doing a great job. Your B players, you're working with the most to manage into an A player if they can get to an A player. If not, you want a high B. And your C players are a waste of time. But when I started this team, the stuff I do is so simple. Like it is so mind-numbingly simple. I'm like, anybody can do this. So I'm like, let me hire anybody who wants to come. And there was no criteria. I'm like, you want to, sure, come on. And then I realized very quickly what I'd already known from past management experience, C's or C's. So I thought we were going to be able to do it. Didn't work out. Had to get rid of them. Yeah.
As the saying goes, I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself, right?
And the amount of times I said that was like, yeah.
Mike, what about yourself? What's your number one priority that you do every single day that kind of helps, take you through to make it a successful day for you?
Biggest priority is planning the day the night before. Is probably the biggest thing. It's kind of charting the course for, all right, what do I need to do? Deal doctoring, what do I need to do? Whether it's, training or appointments with the team or recruiting, whatever that kind of looks like. And, Angela's been on calls with me before and she knows I suck at this in terms of, managing my calendar and not letting things kind of pop up and all that. And this year, really the focus is, and I have to lean back into my staffing background, is really adding team members, because that's the only way to get the leverage to go where we want to go. Without running myself ragged. So, and then one of the things I'm working with my coach on is very much that hour of power, being more Shawn, less Mike, getting on the phone, staying in touch with my sphere, having those meaningful conversations and let them bring it to real estate, just having those discussions around, hey, what's new, what's going on in your world. And it invariably always turns, well, hey, looks like you're killing it, or what's going on? Are we really going to keep going up? Those discussions just happen organically. And then you find out, they've got a property you didn't know about that they may want to cash out of a rental or something, or they're looking for a rental. Or one of the things that I'm talking to all my friends about now that have kids in college, we're writing a contract today for a townhouse in Lynchburg, Virginia, where our daughter's going to school. Talking to people that have college age kids and saying, why in the hell would you ever pay rent for your kids to move off campus? And just start referring those people out, to people in Gainesville or people in Tallahassee or wherever their kids are. So just figuring out ways to leverage those relationships that I've got for being here 25 years and a business owner for, 23 of them.
Thank you. Angela, what does your daily schedule look like as far as like time blocking from the moment you wake up to, shutting I guess you never shut the lights off, but calming it down, I guess.
Yeah. So, first I want to say that I echo a lot of the same things that Mike has said in terms of scheduling. But one of the things that I'm good at is having a morning routine. And so making sure that I'm getting some positive messages into my mind and into my spirit so that I'm starting the day off well. So I make sure I'm spending time in prayer. I'm spending time listening to some awesome audio messages that help me just to be in the right mindset. Today, I was listening to some awesome stuff from Darren Hardy. He's got he's the author of The Compound Effect, and he's got this daily Darren Daily type of podcast. So I was listening to that. Sometimes I'll be on like YouTube and I'm listening to something just to make sure I'm in the right mindset. And then I'm looking at my calendar, and from, just like Mike said, I have been caught up in I have my day planned, but as I make these calls and have meetings, additional tasks come out of that. And I'll find that my day gets filled up taking care of those things. In the past, I didn't have a transaction coordinator. And so I recently hired one to help with those details. And so I'm really happy about that. And I've hired some other folks too to kind of help leverage my time so that I can be even more productive. But I make sure that I at least have a good morning routine.
Thank you, Shawn. Shawn, you doing 100 deals you said on your own? Like, what does your schedule look like? I imagine it has to be pretty concise, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually don't keep a schedule.
You do not have a schedule.
Yeah, I don't keep one. Yeah, so my day timer is completely empty. I try, but it just, my brain doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Like you could look, I even went and did one in my office here, like a whole year one.
Uh-huh.
And everybody came and wrote their birthdays on, and that's it. There's not a single deal on that board since I put it up. Even time blocking, like I can't do time blocking. But what I do is I do blocks of time. So, but if I was going to give somebody their ideal schedule, I understand that I'm a little bit of an anomaly for things, right? So I tell people like, this is what you should do. Don't do what I do. But yeah, like the morning routine is super important, like what Angela said. So mine every morning as you wake up, we speak positive affirmations, present tense, but now, or sorry, future tense, but now. So it's not I will, it's I am, right? So I make sure we say that every single morning. So it's not I will run a great team, I will be this, I will be that. It's I have a great team, I have my ideal body, I am what I am. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Hit floor and meditate and stretch in the darkness. And that's what I'm forward thinking my day. So I'm just seeing all the events that are happening and I'm playing them out. Like I've already, like this already happened for me this morning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm already thinking how this is going to go. All my meetings, I've already visualized them and how they're going to lay out. And then I work out and then breakfast. And then while I'm watching breakfast, this is such an important thing. I don't realize why people don't do this more, but YouTube. Every morning when you watch your breakfast, you should be YouTubing a skill that you're looking to learn. And the whole concept of this business is acquiring more skills. So for example, like if you got a weak construction background, totally fine. But you should be YouTubing every morning, windows, shingles, furnaces, framing, foundations, whatever. And you shouldn't just do it one time. You should do it until you become an expert in that. And then you move on to the next one. So you'll never get caught flat-footed, right? When you're with a customer and they're like, oh, what's the difference between stucco and hardy board? And you're like, oh, I don't know. So you should be YouTubing every morning stucco and then YouTubing every morning hardy board, and then you'll get that skill. Same with like negotiation, same with Facebook, same with YouTube leads, whatever it is that you're looking for. Make sure that you really hammer in on that skill every morning. And then like you're going to grow as your business. And then I run a meeting 9 to 9:30 every morning. I think everybody should run a meeting with themselves 9 to 9:30 in the morning when they don't have a team. And then we talk about what we're going to post about on social media that day. And then most people won't have a deep understanding of it. So what I'd like them to do, sorry. Yeah, so what I'd like them to do, 1 second, sorry, is we'll go over a topic. So let's say we're talking with investors, right? So why would people want to invest in Calgary? Or condos? Like condos were dead here, still dead up until 2 weeks ago. Now it's all changing. So why is it changing? So we need to look at the macro economy, what's going on, who's coming here, why they're coming here, where they're coming from, all that stuff. And I'm like, do the research, start Googling, YouTubing, start reading articles, find out what's going on. And we found out that all these tech companies are coming here. And we just had this company from Chicago buy the Bow Tower, which is the biggest building in the city. They bought it for 1.7 billion. And then a few months later, they bought the West Hills, which is the other two biggest buildings in downtown, and they're completely empty. So like, why are they buying empty buildings, right? Well, because the tech sector is coming here. What just happened? Amazon just signed a contract here. Google just signed a contract here. Benevolently just signed a contract here. All this young talent is coming. Now the downtown core is going to start exploding with condos. So we have to deeply understand that. So I get them to do the research and then write a blog on it so that they can formulate their thoughts in a concise manner. And then once they do a blog, now you can make a YouTube post or a social media post about it. And usually that takes you to lunch. And then after lunch, we do what's called a blitz, where we get attention to that post from the people that we're looking to get attention for. And then once they're done that, at night, they should either be door knocking or warm calling if they're not working with buyers or sellers. And then that way your schedule is based on prospecting through social media and through direct business from day to day. And then you're going to be busy. So like if you're not actively working with buyers and sellers, you need to be actively working to get buyers and sellers. And if you understand that it's a seesaw that always happens, right? I got a bunch of buyers and sellers. I'm too busy to prospect, and it starts going like this. Make sure you pick that prospecting up. You don't just start taking time off, right? So that you kind of always have that balancing act go. And then That's my plan for the day. If that makes
You're
sense.
door knocking and warm calling. Who you're door knocking? I imagine you're door knocking your listings and warm calling who?
Yeah. So what happens for door knocking? We only door knock with buyers, right? Everything I think of, you have to think of two, or every prospecting activity, we have to consider two things. What's the intent and how do I maximize my ROI of that activity? So my intent for door knocking is to get listings. So if I'm going to be going out getting listings, I see so many times people go out there and they're like, I'm a local realtor, we're just giving free home evaluations or blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of your time and the person's time. They can go on realtor.ca.com for you guys and see what their house is roughly worth. For us, we're looking for people that want to get in the community and they've seen everything on MLS, and we want someone that wants to sell their house today, right? Like we've got 3 listing presentations today that we went out 2 days ago, $2 million houses and 1 $3 million houses. So we could put $4 million on the board today from door knocking 2 days ago, right? So door knocking with intent. And then for warm calls, I hate all the warm call scripts I've seen out there, especially the fairy guys. I hate them. I mean, I don't hate them as people, but I hate the scripts. So for me, when we're warm calling, I just start with A and we work our way down to Z, or Z. And then it's honestly, you just genuinely and generally catching up with everybody. That's it. So you should be just doing all the questions and seeing how they're doing and see how you can help them, and don't help them with real estate. I mean, like, how can you help them with anything, right? Do you need a babysitter? Do you need a dog sitter? Do you need advice? You know, you're married, you're divorced, like what's going on? I haven't talked to you in a while. And you just generally catch up with people, and then they'll ask you what you're doing. You tell them real estate, I love it, it's going great. And then you go back to them and you just keep the conversation about them. It's that simple, right? And then near the end of the conversation, I ask for help with social media. I see, listen, social media is super important. Whenever you see one of my posts, can you like and comment on it because it'll help with the algorithm? They say, yeah, no problem. I said, from time to time, I'm going to ask people to share some of my listings. Would you mind sharing with your sphere? And that's a whole other strategy that we have that's absolutely incredible for growing your sphere in your business. So we get them to share some of my listings. And then that's it, right? So that's your warm calls. And what happens is I live in a very cold climate, so I base my days on the temperature. So if it's really cold, I'm warm calling. If it's really warm, I'm door knocking. Does that make sense? And if I have customers, then I work with customers. And then that's my schedule every day. And I just keep that consistent schedule. And what happens with people, like, they're so afraid of going out and they think they're not going to be good at it, and they're not, and that's okay. But what happens is you just understand that you're building a muscle and you're starting from zero. And as you do repetitions consistently, you're going to build that muscle and get stronger at it. And then door knocking is going to be super simple, and warm calls are going to be super simple, and social, it's all simple once you get good at it. But know that you're going to suck at the beginning and be okay with that. Sorry for the long answer.
Oh, building a muscle. I imagine you didn't start with just
No.
a couple weights on each side. You're probably it took some time, right?
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah.
Mike, what would you say your secret sauce is in your business?
I think the secret sauce with our team now is the culture around it, and just coming from a place of service at all times. Like literally on this deal we're working on right now, me and the agent on the other side, fortunately, has a similar mindset where, you know, we're looking at ways to make this deal better for the buyers and sellers from capital gains standpoint, from what the properties will assess for, by literally shaving $1 million off of their sale price and what they'll buy for, because this buyer has a property. So figuring out ways, how do I make this better for the client, knowing that if I knock $1 million off something, my commission goes down. Don't care, not about me. So making it not about us. And that's the same thing with that, you know, proof of competence is just showing people, look, here's how we're serving. Here's how we're helping. I'm so detached from outcomes. It's not even funny. Like if deals fall apart, I'm just like, I'm on to the next, because I know if I keep doing what I do, everything takes care of itself. Now it's getting the agents on the team, you know, that are just starting to build their production. I mean, we've got 2 that joined like March and April this year. They've each done over 5 million. Kind of getting them in that mindset of, yeah, not every deal is going to close. Detach yourself from the outcome. What's best for your client? Everything else sort of takes care of itself.
I like that. So detach yourself from the outcome. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Right on. Angela, what would you say your most effective lead generation tool is in your business?
Um, I think the most effective tool is going to be those phone calls, like what Shawn talked about, those warm calls. And in addition, like client appreciation events and activities, just ways to constantly stay engaged with your client base, both current and past clients, so that you're top of mind anytime they think about something that's real estate related. And for me, that's helped me to get multiple deals done with one client, which I really enjoy that. I enjoy when I'm listing a home and helping them buy, dealing with the same person. I enjoy it when I've got one client that's got 5 properties that they're trying to liquidate, or one client that's trying to purchase multiple properties. And so I found that I get a lot of repeat business from the same people by keeping in touch.
Nice, thank you. Shawn always gives us some healthy content, so I'll ask him.
Sorry.
How do you track your business?
How do I what? Sorry.
How do you track your business?
Like in which regard? Sorry.
As far as like for us, we formulated a small team as September of last year. So we use a service called SISU, SISU, and what it does is we track all of the business in there, splits and whatnot. We have monthly contests. We last month we gave away 4 Disneyland tickets, dinner at my place, and some other things. So do you track your business, or you just kind of just going with it?
Yeah, that's something I could definitely improve on for sure. Yeah. So I track my own business, and then we have a huge board in the, so like my office is pretty big because we had 20 people. Now I don't need this much space, but we have a huge board where everybody's sales were. So I could always go up and look and see like what deals are going on and where's like follow up with that kind of stuff. But as far as like a computer system or anything like that that's tracking the deals, no, I got to manually go back and track them for me. So yeah, I'll be looking at Sisu. I like that.
Yeah.
That one, and we also does anybody use Slack on here?
Yep.
Yeah, Slack is pretty good. You can create channels in there. So we have training, different, like when somebody asks me a question, whatever question they ask, I screen record, I upload it on YouTube, and I say go to the Slack channel. So the Slack channel, you said like something so small as, hey, how do I create a CMA, comparative market analysis? They can actually type it up on the search bar, and they can see a video in which I recorded. You can hear my voice, and I can tell you exactly how to do it. And, I mean, rather than asking you the same question over and over again, say, did you check the trainings? Did you check the Slack channel?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Slack is pretty good. Do you use it, Mike?
No, we don't. Then tracking our team agent production. So we've got a couple Google Sheets. So one of them is the total team, and then each agent has a tab on there. So we can keep an eye kind of where they are, because they've got some, the way our splits work, when they get to a certain level of production, their sphere starts paying a little higher for the rest of their anniversary year. Because again, I want my team built not on leads, because if they come for leads and don't work them, they leave. I want them to come for the culture, the training, the support, and I want them to self-generate more of that business, even if I take less on it.
I like what you said about culture coming from a place of service. So how do you keep your team members engaged? Like, what is it that are you in? I think Shawn just said he had a meeting from 9 to 9:30 every day. We have our huddle from 8:30 to 9 o'clock every morning, Monday through Friday. So how do you keep you said culture, like how do you keep your agents engaged?
So we have a Monday meeting every morning at 9. Typically once a month, we're going to bring in, whether it's lender, inspector, insurance, stager, somebody to kind of let us know what they're seeing in the market as it relates to, cast iron pipes, or Florida with roofs now, kind of keeping us engaged so we know what's doing on those things. Typically there's some training around that. And a lot of it is just, sort of overhearing conversations. We're a smaller team, so it's much easier. And also, team outings, like we just did our team dinner. We usually do lunch once or twice a month at least as a group, just kind of, and that there's no kind of agenda to that. It could be just talking about our houses or plans for the next holiday or what's going on, with our terrible football team. Those are just, hey, let's all connect. And sometimes those all become about deals we're in. It just organically, we kind of figure out where that is. But, when I interview folks, either for support roles or admin roles, they're in our conference room and our core values are right over my back every time. And I say, tell me which one of these resonates with you the most? Which one do you not understand? And, do you feel this aligns with you? And if not, all right, we're not a fit. And that's fine.
I like when what Shawn says. He said you have an A player, B player that can possibly be an A, but then you have the C. Shawn, how long do you stick around with that C player before you said, hey, you know what, you didn't make the cut?
The longest one was probably 7 months they lasted, but usually it's like within a month or two.
Mhm.
You gotta
Oh, wow.
figure it out.
Do you
And
get do you feel like you get a bad rap, or now people are saying things about Shawn, or does that bother you?
couldn't care less. I wouldn't even hear it if they said it. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe I'm so focused on my own thing. I literally hear no outside noise ever, good or bad. It's irrelevant to me. Even like I found out I won like sale rookie of the year for Calgary, right? Unofficially, because they don't track it like that. And how it happened is this guy called me and he said, he's like, hey, I'm interviewing like the top 10 rookies of the year for Calgary. I'm like, oh, cool, man. Like, that's pretty awesome. I'm like, so I finished the top 10. He's like, no, you didn't finish the top 10. I'm like, oh, I'm like, why the fuck are you calling me? What? And he goes, no, you finished number 1. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. And he said, you had as many listings as number 2 had sales. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. Interesting, because he had all the data and he tracked it, but I had no idea. I didn't even know I finished rookie of the year for my brokerage, let alone the whole city, right? So like I literally had no idea. I don't hear it. But yeah, like in regards to with getting rid of people quick and stuff, my problem with this version was I had the open door to hire everybody. And now what happens is I've learned, because we're always learning, is I need to have, in the team structure that I'm building, I need to have problem solvers, right? I need to have people that can step up on their own and they can learn how to Google things and whatever. So now my interview questions are 100% based on solving problems, right? Whereas before I would just like explain the splits, explain the model and how it works and what the team concept is. I'm like, you like this? They're like, yeah, I like this. I'm like, okay, cool, you're hired. Like, let's go, right? But now, like one of my favorite questions is actually this at the end. So I'll just ask them like what their favorite band is or what their favorite musician is, right? So like, for example, like Mike, like what's your favorite band right now? Who's your favorite musician?
Now, God, it's wide open. We'll say Revolution.
Revolution. Okay. So let's say you wanted to go see Revolution and you had to get backstage passes to go see them, but you couldn't spend any money to do it. How would you get access to backstage without spending any money? And then I leave. I'll give you 5 minutes to figure this out and I'll come back in 5 minutes. And I don't care what their answer is. I just want to understand their thought process to solving that problem. Does that make sense? So I'm way more interested in how they get there than actually getting there, right? So that's one of the questions I ask now. And I'm like, okay, like this person's a problem solver, right? Or I said, like let's say you're newly licensed or you're obviously struggling a little bit because that's why you want to come on the team. I said, let's say that you had to sell a house this week. You have exactly 7 days to sell a house. And if you don't, you surrender your license. Tell me what your schedule looks like, right? And then they have to tell me what their schedule looks like. And if it's stupid, I'm not going to hire them. Do you know what I mean? And same thing, if their answer doesn't make any sense with the concert question, then I'm not going to hire them. So I want to hire problem solvers because I thought I could solve the problem for these people and I couldn't, right? So now I need people that can solve their own problem and then I can just amplify the results, if that makes sense.
Hey, Shawn, are you able to share your questions that you have in your interview? Would you mind?
Those are pretty much the 2 basic ones, to be honest. And besides that, I'm just asking about their experience. And then I'll ask them if they've ever played an instrument or a sport that they sucked at and how they accomplished at becoming good at it. And if they tell me none, I'm like, okay, well, you don't have consistency and discipline, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I tried guitar and I gave it up after a week. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have consistency, discipline. You don't have the passion to actually succeed in what you want to succeed in. Does that make sense? And those are it, really. Like, besides that, I'm just getting to know people. So those 3.
Nice. Angela, where do you invest in yourself as far as, I know you said you do audibles and you listen to stuff. I know Shawn said he uses YouTube, and things that he wants to learn. Like, do you invest in yourself as far as education or coaching?
I do. I have a coach. I have a local coach that I use, a realtor that I really have been impressed with over the years, that meets with me on a regular basis so I can be accountable to them. And then also, I sign up for different programs, just like using Darren Hardy as an example, if I see something that they're offering, a service that I think would be helpful for me, then I'll sign up for that. I believe in investing in myself so that I can become better. I'm going to learn more about this social media stuff. Shawn, I actually saw your presentation at EXPCon.
Oh,
You did a fabulous job. And so that's something that I have on my list, is to really look at that and get better at the social media aspect.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Mike? What do you invest? Do you invest in coaching and any education?
Yeah, so I got into coaching before I even had my license, just because I didn't want to, again, I wanted to make that learning curve much faster. And when I owned my staffing firm, I was in 2 different kind of mastermind CEO groups, and those were the only things on my calendar that were non-negotiables, because the value I got far exceeded the value I thought I brought. I mean, honestly, this one group, I'm like, do y'all just keep me around for the laughs? Because y'all are like up here, and I'm like, barely here. But that's why I wanted to get involved in coaching, for the accountability side of it that Angela mentioned, but more so and I'm getting this within our, my upline within EXP, is that collaboration, those ecosystems where, I've got a bunch of people that I can reach out to at any time when I'm stuck, when I've got, something going sideways, or just say, how do you handle this? And people are calling me for, things that they know I have some knowledge about. So those, and I'm an avid reader, kind of part of the morning routine, definitely part of the nighttime routine, kind of just wind my brain down a little bit with reading versus, a screen that's shooting blue light at me or something.
Nice. So Shawn, going from 44 units to 103, now going to 200 deals in this upcoming year, do you have any coaching that you invest in, or where are you finding none, huh?
No, sorry.
Are you hiring? I mean,
honestly, my big thing is I just tell everybody, just do the things, right? And if you just do the things every day, you'll get the results that you're looking for. And just so many people just don't do the things. That's it. So like we make a plan, and you'll take your goal, then you break down what you need to do in a month, and then a week, and then a day. And then from the day you make your schedule. And then once you make your schedule, you just do the things that's on your schedule. But so many people don't. Do you know what I mean? Like we have so much time in a day. And like I see this all the time from realtors, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way whatsoever, but I'm like, y'all aren't serious about your business. Do you know what I mean? Like I purposely shut my production down about 6 months ago. So like I purposely closed it, and I was doing maybe 3-4 deals a month myself, just like very passively. And the team was doing the rest because I wanted to be 100% available for the team, right? And my goal was to be on every listing presentation, every buyer presentation, every buyer tour, everything, every single thing with every single one of those agents I wanted to be, so I could use it as teaching moments. And like I said, like I was going to teach everybody everything. And I'm like, you can't teach C players. I learned. So this is only a week ago. Like I told you last Friday, we got rid of everybody. I'm like, I better put my production back up because we're getting rid of everybody, and we're going to do a different structure now. And yesterday I wrote a deal for 1.2. Today I'm writing a deal for 750. 3 days ago I wrote for 450, and those all came from zero, right? All I did is I just went back to doing the things that I used to do, and I strummed up that business in 3 days, 4 days, right? So like I know if I just turn it on for production, I can do that. But the goal is team building. So now I need to restructure the team so that I can amplify the team. But I had to go back to production first now. So like we never fail if we learn, right? We never lose if we learn. And that lesson cost me a lot of money. Actually, the math was like $250,000 it cost me. But, here we are growing. So we'll see what this version looks like. But no coaching for me.
Shawn, cutting your agents down. I think I asked this question earlier, like, how do you keep them engaged in the way you operate? I mean, you sound like a high D alpha male. Like, how do you get them in alignment with you? I guess I understand, me personally, with our team, it's like, I'm kind of similar to you. You are a little intense. I can get that way as well. But how do you mesh with those that aren't or don't fit your personality?
I didn't. That's why they let me go. I didn't.
That's why they're cut.
Yeah. So it didn't work out. So now, like I said, like you always have to like just look back and evaluate, right? Like what worked, what didn't work, and how do we adapt and change to make sure that we're moving in the right direction moving forward. So I'm like, okay, if I want more A-type players, I have to give an environment for an A-type game. And what happened is because I invited everybody in and I was kind of working their business, if that makes sense, right, for them, being on every deal, I wasn't inviting more like alpha type people. So now the thought on this version of the team, and we'll see in 6 months how it works. So just, yeah, can I have a double, actually? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys. So now with this version of the team, what I want to do, I've ever heard this, but speed of the leader, speed of the team. Right. So speed of the leader, speed of the team. So now I want to sprint doing my own production and have people chase me. Does that make sense? So now I want the environment to be super competitive with me on the board, because I purposely left my deals off the board because I didn't want people seeing them. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't want anybody to feel any type of way. And I'm like, you know what, you guys do your deals. I'll just keep my business completely separate of what the team is doing. Now I'm going to put my deals up on the board and I'm going to be talking shit to everybody. And we're like, hey man, like I just put 3 more deals up. Like you have one up this week, like what's going on? And I'm going to see if that creates an atmosphere of more A-type high D people. And I'll let you know in 6 months how it goes. So I have no idea. Right.
Right on. So let's see, what other questions can we ask here? I would say, Angela, can you I mean, possibly give some advice to someone that's barely starting out? Would you, if you could change things from your career day one to what you know now, like what would you suggest for a newly licensed agent? Because all too many times I find, especially on these panels, that there are a lot of agents out there that aren't, I think they said there's some kind of statistic nationally that 40% of people have not consummated a transaction within the last 12 months. So my question would be, in your opinion, as long as you've been doing real estate, if you can make a suggestion to a newly licensed agent, what piece of advice would you offer them?
I would tell them to connect with a successful team. That's the best way to increase your learning curve, to help you get leads and more deals, teach you how to do the business the right way so that you don't have to encounter all the mistakes. You know, you don't have to recreate the wheel. So that's the biggest piece of advice I would give to a new agent.
Thank you. Mike, same question.
Same, you know, I think real estate in the last 3 to 5 years has really become a team sport. And I think it's the way that you're going to learn the fastest, get some deal flow, get some mentorship, the things you name. There's a reason the failure rate is so high in real estate. It's because people come in with preconceived notions and falsehoods that it's easy or whatever that looks like. So I think that's the fastest way. And then as team leaders, we just have to understand, you know, if we're kind of doing this right, people will probably outgrow our team. And if they do, that's terrific. You know, they're still in your downline, still hopefully do deals with them and everything else. But, you know, my goal for every agent on my team within 18 months is they're making 6 figures. How many are going to leave? You know?
Yeah.
That's the question. And if they think they can go from 100 to 2, they should leave. If they think they're going to get another 20 grand, like, then they have to evaluate, what am I going to have to invest to get that delta? And it's a whole hell of a lot. So when we do, even when I interview agents for the team, I kind of walk through the value prop. I say, here's everything I pay for. Look at this. I'm 13,000 in the hole the first of every month. Here's your $85 TXP. How does this sound? Whether it's Zillow leads, CRM, BombBomb, like all the tech stack and tools that we give them, not to mention, you know, agent referrals. I pass all that stuff on. Unless, you know, it's another if it's within the Tom Ferry ecosystem, they're like, look, Mike, only you for this. Okay, fine, that's cool. In most cases, if it's a buyer or something, we're gonna kind of do a Zoom call, triage them, and then figure out which agent on the team is the best fit for them.
So we've gone as far as hiring an ISA company out in New York. We front loaded about $16,000. We've gotten to a point to where we're getting these ISAs to convert the appointment and then call our phone number, and whoever picks up the phone is their lead, right? So it's like, I find too many times that I agree with you 100%. Me starting 12, 13 years ago, I probably would have joined a team and, like they say, rip off and duplicate, do everything that they've done. And then eventually, I think they said that the shelf life, I've heard this from a couple of brokers, they said the shelf life of an agent to stay on a team is between 2 and 3 years. But with that being said, it's like, if I could do over again, I'd go and join a team as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And, at some point in time, if you want to be the Shawns, or you want to be the Mikes, or you want to be the Angelas of the world, they're going to want to leave, but you're hopeful that you've equipped them with enough content that will allow them to succeed, because they're obviously a walking, talking, advertisement, so to speak. To this day, I contribute all my successes to my broker at C21. He doesn't know this, but he's changed my life in ways that he wouldn't even know, right? But yeah, I mean, it's totally cool. I mean, what about you, Shawn? What would you suggest? I mean, we're about to wrap up, but something that you can share with a newly licensed agent, whether they're with EXP or not. What would be a piece of advice that you'd offer them day one getting into the business? What would you do differently 2.5 years ago? If you can share something with the people watching this, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's two mindsets, because I get asked this question quite a bit, actually. So like two things I think people need to think about. One is understanding what employment is. And so I was very fortunate to work under a guy named Craig Wenzel. He was at the Brick. You guys never heard of this company before. It's a big furniture company. And what happened, I'll just give you an example of this. This guy was amazing at what he did about running teams and running businesses. And he wanted to increase his store's production, furniture sales. So what he did is he actually went and grabbed a stopwatch, and he would clock his people how long that they were qualifying and giving features and benefits on furniture, right? So he called that employment. And he said, if you're not employed, you need to be either learning or whatever, or finding ways to stay employed. So in an 8-hour shift, take a wild guess how long people were employed for.
45 minutes.
So they're qualifying or giving features and benefits on the product. That's employment. So take a guess in 8 hours.
45 minutes. Lower. 20 minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. So in an 8-hour shift, they were only employed for 15 minutes. It's crazy. You think about that, right? So what he did is he taught them how to qualify properly, how to look for current dissatisfactions, right? Why they're there shopping for furniture, what they're shopping for, and then how to give features, benefits, and future promise. And he got his people up to being employed for an hour a day. So only 1 hour out of an 8-hour shift. And his store sales doubled. They literally doubled with no extra ads, no extra expense, no extra anything. So my biggest, the first biggest one is to understand what employment is as a realtor. And employment is only prospecting for a new buyer or seller. So if you're not actively on the phone with somebody, DMing or emailing, if you're not actively working to generate new business, you're not employed. So my goal is to stay employed for 2 hours a day. Does that make sense? So if you can stay employed for a minimum of 2 hours a day, your pipeline will never, ever, ever be empty. And then you just have to find a way to make sure that you stay employed in the most efficient ways, right? Employment is number one. Sorry, I got a puppy and he's going crazy.
I've got a dog too, a big baby who's crying here.
Your big baby? Yeah, look at this guy. Hold on. He's like literally a little puppy. So,
It's adorable.
Little Frenchie.
hi, buddy. Are you just causing a mess everywhere today? Okay. So understanding what employment is, and then this ties into it, is never confusing effort with results. So what happens is so many people stay in busy work thinking that it's employment when it's not. So for example, like that YouTube in the morning for breakfast, that's not employment. those spreadsheets that you're making, that's not employment. That business card, that website, that whatever, none of that is employment. The only form of employment is talking to new buyers or new sellers. That's the only form of employment. And once they understand that that's the main part of their job, they will always be employed and they'll get the benefit of their job, of doing a good job, which is buyers, sellers, listing presentations, whatever, right? So too many people get caught up in the busy work instead of the real work. So my number one thing is understanding what employment is, staying employed for 2 hours a day, and never confusing effort with results. That make sense?
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
100%.
We're about wrapping up here. It's 10 o'clock on this side of town. I heard of Shawn ordering a double, so it's probably lunchtime at your place.
Getting there. Yeah, getting there.
No, absolutely. I appreciate everybody's time. I'm gonna upload this and I'll send everyone the link. If you can, I guess if you want to share how to contact. So you service the Vancouver area, you say?
No, Calgary.
Calgary, excuse me. If you can, shout out your name, your phone number, email, how to get a hold of you in case we do have a referral for you. Same for Mike and Angela. That'd be great.
Mine's easy, just Shawn Getty, and then Instagram is the easiest. Or if you want any of the stuff that I'm talking about here, it's all on YouTube. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
So Mike Rolowitz, I'm in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, at Mike Rolowitz on Instagram. Easy to find me if you kind of go that route typically.
Thank you. Angela, send us home.
Yeah, Angela Walters, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If you want to reach me, you can reach me through the EXP email address, angela.walters@exprealty.com.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Let's go kick some ass. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Richard. Great job.
Thank you.